of recording, so go ahead.
Great. Well, first of all, thank you everyone for joining us during this crazy time. And it's a unique topic, dating during the pandemic. I think all of you probably think about it, and that's what had you interested to come today. So I'm with Rachel, and
I'm gonna call him
hi everyone, please go on mute.
I'm muting the new people as they come in, but if you're not muted, please mute yourself.
So today we're going to be discussing dating during the pandemic. So my name is Schleien. I'm the co-founder of Filteroff, a video speed dating app. And Rachel, you can introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm Rachel Russo, and I am a dating and relationship expert. I do matchmaking, I do dating and relationship coaching, and more newly, I also do couples therapy.
Cool. So how tonight's going to work is the first 25, 30 minutes will be a conversation between Rachel and myself, and then we'll open it up to Q&A. So anything goes, and so let's get started. So let's just start like an easy one. But so during this time, with social distancing, people are obviously being reliant on video to date. Do you have any just like off the bat, some tips and things that you see that people are doing very, very wrong when video dating?
Yes, this is a great question and totally expected from someone who runs a video-based dating app. So I think it's very important that, first of all, we have a nice background. I think that it should be light. You should be able to see yourself on camera, and there should not be clutter. You shouldn't be staring at a big mess. I would clean that all up before you are going to do your video date so that your space kind of reflects a mindset that you're in, that you're prepared, you're ready to meet someone, and that's your space and your lighting. That's key. But then there's also your appearance and your image. So one thing that I always think is pretty funny, I joke around with my parents who are in their late 60s. They finally learned during this pandemic how to be on video, because when I used to FaceTime them, I used to just see like their nose or, the tip of their head. But I finally taught them how they can have their whole face and not even just be like a head. Like if you see where, I'm sitting, I'll use myself as an example. I'm back far enough that you can see a little bit of my upper body. And I think that's a good thing if you're going to be on video. So it's important how you position yourself, and it's also important how you position your device that you're on. Right now I'm on a laptop, and it's not like I have a professional setup or anything. I actually, if you guys saw, you would laugh. I order, okay, very good tip, non-related, but I order wild organic seafood from a company called Vital Choice, which is amazing and has been a lifesaver during the pandemic. And they have these boxes, and I literally have 4 boxes stacked up with like a laptop desk and then my laptop. And that gives me the best angle and the best look. And I've experimented with this. So you have to figure all that out. And then obviously your appearance as well. So this is different for different people, but I think that generally solid colors work better. And, wearing all kinds of crazy patterns and stripes and things like that is probably not for a video date. I think that it's distracting, and I'm just admitting a few more people right now if I look distracted, but it's distracting. You want the person to focus on you and your face and what you look like. So I would just, this isn't really the time to try out like the best fashion looks or anything. Just kind of keep it simple. I don't know who this is, but she's wearing, Danielle T is wearing like this blue shirt that's just popping out at me, and it looks amazing. It's just a great color on her. So kudos to Danielle. To me, that would be appropriate for a video date. Also, obviously females, you want to have a little bit of makeup on and dress like you're actually going on a date, have your hair done, not be fidgeting with your hair. Men have it a little bit easier. For women, I think, you know, we don't want to look totally done up like we're going to a club or something. We want to look naturally beautiful and highlight that with the right makeup and hairstyle. And if we, you know, 15 minutes ago before starting this, I didn't look like this. My hair was up in a bun. I was wearing my glasses, but you know what? You're going to be on video. Time to put your contacts in. Please wear a bra. I have to say that, you know, put on some mascara, do what you need to do. I know we're in our home and we're comfortable, but you want to get into that mindset that you're actually on a date. So to do that, you need to look the part. So that's what I would say there.
Yeah, that's good. So in terms of like your first video date, is there anything you'd say that's like a definite no-go?
A definite no-go,
Like you shouldn't be doing on your first video date, whether what you say, I mean, you talked a lot about appearance. Maybe let's switch it up to communication. Is there
okay,
anything that you would definitely not say on that first conversation?
got it. Well, okay, keep in mind that this is a very interesting time during the pandemic and the aftermath of the pandemic and everything that, assuming everyone's in the US or paying attention to the news, like what is going on in the world. I don't think the first few minutes of a video date or even the last few minutes of a video date are the time to really talk in detail about current events and politics and your views. I'm not saying to totally ignore it and be like, oh yeah, everything's great, you know, when everything in the headlines is clearly not great, but you're here getting to know the person. And it's very dangerous territory if you get into topics like politics or, you know, the traditional topics that dating experts would say don't talk about. Don't talk about them on video dates. So politics, religion, okay, health problems, that's another thing. There's like things that are TMI, you know, too much information that you would not necessarily tell someone that doesn't know you. They don't need to know about your digestive issues. That's one thing. They don't need to know about your past relationships. That's a huge one. Talking about exes, that's just not appropriate for a first date. And actually, some men tell me that they consider it like completely disrespectful when they're on a real date and women are talking about past relationships because they think, you know, I'm here, I'm getting to know you, and you're talking about some other guy. Are you really ready for this? And obviously, ladies, it works both ways. You don't want to be on a date where you feel like the guy's therapist either. So I don't think anyone should be talking about exes. And the other thing is the actual dating experience. So say you meet on Filteroff, or say you're doing a video date with someone otherwise that you met on a dating app. I don't think it's the best idea to be like, so have you met anyone on Bumble? How has your dating been during the pandemic? Have you gone on any dates? Like it just is not necessary. Again, you want to get to know the person and bring out the best possible light and energy that's in them.
Yeah, so, we're starting to get some questions. So we'll take questions towards the end after our discussion, just to keep it focused, but definitely keep your questions in mind. So, and one thing that I've seen on Filteroff, so like we allow you to put your fun facts, is just showcase like what you value and what you enjoy, because maybe when you do jump on that first video speed date with that other person, you may have that in common. So like, for example, if you did competitive ice skating, maybe someone else that you go on a date with be like, oh, I used to ice skate too. Can you tell me a little bit about it? And people love sharing about their experiences. So again, just like be curious. Don't be weird. Like, don't be like a creep. I mean, you just met them. Like, be courteous, be kind, and be curious. I think that's super important. But definitely look the part. Like, don't slouch. Don't have your camera all the way up. Don't like, just look like you put yourself together, right? Like, we're in 2020. You should know how to hold a phone now. And if you don't, just like ask someone that is living, what's like, hey, how do you do it? So, I mean, I think you have to put a little bit of effort in, and no, this is really good. So let's talk about, when do you transition? I think this is a really common question. When do you transition from we're video dating, we're vibing, now let's meet? And then of course, like social distancing or whatever you feel is appropriate. when does that transition occur where you're like, let's do it. Let's actually meet up?
Okay, I have answers, but first I just wanted to say that as a dating coach, I love everything you said, Zach, especially the be curious part, because people really enjoy talking about themselves. Everybody does. We all have like a little bit of narcissism in us. You know, it's a spectrum. We want to feel special. We want to feel that someone is getting to know us uniquely for who we are. So the be curious and in trying to connect on values and know who someone really is, I believe that will get you really, really far in the dating game, and it will set you apart from other people who are asking really boring, like standard questions. You know, what do you do for work? And how many siblings do you have? That's what people don't like. So another don't that I just wanted to go back to is to just don't be boring and be a cliche with all that first date small talk. When you're on these video dates, you only have a short time to make a first impression. So yes, it is about your looks, but your personality is going to have to go a long way if you want to transition from the video to the real life. So ask real questions, unique questions about people, just have fun with it. And I think you'll get more out of the process. So back to that question about like, how do you know when you should meet in real life, right? I think this is case by case, and something that I do with the people that I coach is to help them figure out what it is for them that is most important in a match. Like, what are they really looking for? And so your answer will be different based on what you want at this time. If you are just looking, hey, I get it. Like if you're bored and you just want to get out of the house and you want to go have an outdoor drink somewhere, your standard may be lower than someone who's saying, you know what, I'm looking for my husband or my future wife, or I want to have children with this person. So now if you're looking for the latter, if you're looking for something serious, and I assume a lot of people on this call are probably looking for more than just a hookup if they're taking the time to be here for this, I would say that everyone should come up with their top three. You know, what is your top three standard before you will even get on a phone call with someone off of the video app or dating app that you're on? And after that, what is the standard for meeting someone in person? And no, I can't necessarily tell you what to do unless I know you and what your values are and what's most important. But one thing that I would suggest for everyone, actually two things. First thing, you want to have some chemistry and some rapport, and you can have that on video, you can have that on the phone. So if it's extremely awkward, if people are saying things that are triggering you, if you don't like how they laugh, and this is a real thing, I know someone who didn't meet someone because the laugh was just too obnoxious. You need to know that up front and realize that yes, people are nervous, but it might not change. So if you're not feeling a good vibe on the phone or video, then that person, unfortunately, probably, unless they're really outstanding in terms of their other criteria or they're really attractive, that person probably doesn't make it to your in-person date. So it has to click. It has to be like that natural rapport that's hard to describe, but I think everyone should look for that. And I don't think your standard should be so high that you're like expecting to like feel fireworks and fall madly in love, like on a Zoom call or something. It's not necessarily realistic, but you want to feel something. You want to feel you don't want to feel turned off. So if you don't feel turned off and you think, okay, maybe, then go with it. And then the other thing is really figuring out if this person is actually relationship ready. And that is way easier said than done. I know, like, you may not be able to get a true sense of that just on a call, but you can kind of find out, you know, a little bit if you do ask them like a question. I love this question, not so much like, what are you looking for in a woman or what are you looking for in a man, but just catch them off guard and be like, so what's going on like right now in your life? What's most important to you? Like, what are you working on? Did you realize anything like out of this pandemic? Were there any positives for you? Did you learn more about yourself? You know, something like that on a deeper level. If you ask someone what's most important to them and they just are talking about like how, you know, they're applying to law school and they're getting a new job and they have all this stress, and that person might not be relationship ready. They might not be able to prioritize you. Now, if you have all that other stuff going on and you're just kind of looking for more casual dating and you don't need someone there, 100% available, then maybe that's okay. But if you know, like, okay, no, I'm ready to get into a relationship, I wanted to be married, I wanted to have kids yesterday, then perhaps the person that's unsettled in their career might not be a good fit. So you really need to be a detective. This is a learned skill. You need to figure out if people are relationship ready.
Cool. So let's mix it up a little bit. So I think one thing that people always think about is sex, and especially during this time, it can get difficult because people, especially with social distancing. So let's talk about virtual sex. So like, what are your thoughts about virtual sex? How does that even work? It can get really awkward for people. So like, yeah, let's just open up this box.
Yeah. So I did another webinar a couple months ago actually with a sex therapist, and that was interesting. And this is a very real topic. Like, what do you do? I mean, there's plenty of people who have not had sex in 4 months or 6 months or since 2019, right? And we're all adults here, and some people are definitely like looking for something, at least like some type of sexual flirtation or virtual sex or sexting. And I guess I would say that you need a little bit of that. You need a little bit of that spark to keep things going if you're already talking to someone. And you're not meeting that person maybe because of lockdown, or maybe because your dates are very, very non-sexual, because perhaps you're wearing a mask, or you're just going on a walk, or you're staying 6 feet apart. Like, how do you make sure you stay out of that friend zone that so many people don't want to be in? How do you make yourself feel the spark? I think there needs to be flirting. There needs to be some kind of sex stuff going on, but it's about everyone's own level of comfort. And this is where I really caution people, because, all right, let's face it, it's the internet and anyone can end up anywhere. So if you're sending photos to someone, I think that you have to assume that other people. Okay, someone else just joined. If you could just mute yourself. I'm trying to mute everyone. There we go. If you could, you should assume that your photos can wind up on the internet, or the guy that you send it to is going to show his friends, or the girl is going to show her friends. So do not send any type of images or do any type of role play or cyber sex or whatever you want to call it on video, unless you're okay with the fact that it might wind up out there. If you want to send something that does not have your face on it, that's probably a much better idea. I would suggest that. And when I did the other webinar with the sex therapist, she talked about consent a little bit. We discussed that. So, sometimes people like sign contracts, like literally people sign contracts that they're not, okay, I'm going to sex with you, but you're not able to distribute my images, or this is not going to be a recorded call. It sounds crazy, but if you want to protect yourself, I actually would suggest that. Don't do this in the first place with someone that you do not trust.
That'd be a good app. It's like, it would be a good app to be like, okay, I'm going to use the sexting contract app. Right? It's like a default template. You send it to the people or the person.
Well, you know what? Someone's probably working on this, but if they're not, maybe you should.
We'll partner with you at Filteroff.
Super important, in the Me Too era and beyond, especially like for millennials, we're all familiar with this. So the other thing I'd say is that if you don't want your relationship to just be based on sex, don't make everything into a sexual innuendo. It's, people are very lonely and horny and isolated and everything else now. So it could be easy to go in that direction. But I don't necessarily think that you should if you want to be taken seriously. So maybe like a little bit here and there, but don't make that the 100% focus if you want to be seen as more than sex.
Yeah. So I think one thing, like, saying it sounds easier, right, than doing it. It's like it's a new territory. You're on video. You're horny. Maybe you're flirting. But how do you transition from like flirting to what we were just talking about, like to virtual sex? Like, how does someone feel comfortable to make that move, but also do in a way that's responsible with consent. So what does that look like? Yeah, especially for men.
Yeah, so I think it depends on the conversation between two people, and it doesn't come out of nowhere. So when I'm working with men in a coaching context, like if they're meeting women in real life, something that I always say to them in terms of first date etiquette is that you don't just like kiss a woman. It doesn't like, you go on this date, you sit apart from each other at a table, and then all of a sudden you're making out. Like there needs to be
Yeah.
some kind of escalation that happens. Like maybe you grab her hand, or you're doing something, you're getting closer to her. There has to be some physical contact before you just go in for it. And I would say to apply the same principle to the online interaction. So maybe you have a conversation via text where it gets a little sexual and somebody makes a joke or an innuendo. Maybe this would be easy. Maybe you send each other articles and there's an article about this. Like go on Google, find something about this and be like, oh, what do you think of this? I saw this interesting article. Would you ever do that? Or you can do the old, like, my friend told me this story, and then you make something. I mean, it sounds bad, but if you feel uncomfortable saying that you want to do this, you can say like, oh, my friend is talking to this guy and they want to do this whole sexual role play. Like, what do you think of that? Would you ever do that? And you just kind of get into it that way.
So that was good. So let's put the spotlight a little bit on you, Rachel. So
Oh no.
so tell us about you. Like, what experiences have you had during this time? Like, what's been great? What's been just awful? And I think the floor is yours. And you could talk about whatever goes. And of course, whatever we say here stays here.
Except it's on the internet.
That was the joke. That was the joke. But just floor is yours.
Yeah, so I'll answer honestly because I definitely believe in disclosure when it is helpful to other people. And I do think that my experience is helpful to other people because I am now single and I am a single girl in 2020, which means that I've mostly been quarantined, living outside of New York City. I had decided, I guess, early on in the pandemic that I actually wanted to go on dating apps. Bumble was my dating app of choice because I had a previous boyfriend from Bumble, so I always favored Bumble. By the way, this is my experience too, if we're being totally honest. Previous boyfriends and many other previous people that I had interacted with in the past came back during quarantine time, and I know other women had that experience as well. People wanting second chances, probably again out of loneliness and isolation. But I did have one date with someone who I had one date with like a year ago, who another matchmaking colleague introduced me to, and that was an epic fail. A coronavirus story all of its own, like you could not even make it up. But that's just an example. So I know other women and men are dealing with this too, getting a text message from an ex or someone they met on an app who's trying to reconnect because they're bored and lonely and like going through their phone. So I had to sort of weed through that and decide like which I would entertain and which ex needed to be blocked. So yeah, that happens. That happened real quick. But anyways, as for deciding to go back on Bumble, I think I lasted about a month and a half. And to be honest, it was me being like, okay, I'm single, I want to meet someone. And also the dating relationship coach matchmaker in me who was like, okay, I need to see what's going on with this scene because here I am coaching other women and I don't know what it's like to be dating during a pandemic. This is a different dating game. Like the rules are changing here. I mean, ordinarily, like I wouldn't even go out with a guy if he wasn't like taking me out to dinner. But now how can I expect anyone to take me out to dinner? Now a date is the walk in the park. Like literally, those were my 2 dates that I had with people from Bumble, a walk in a park. So I found the process kind of exhausting, not much different than it usually is, but there were more people on it. I think that the use of the dating apps definitely increased. The statistics have shown that. So there were more people that came on back in March and April. And it meant weeding through more people and kind of having more of those boring conversations. And Some of the conversations I had didn't leave the app. Other ones were graduated to texting or a phone call. And there were 2 people that I met from that in that time, who we met offline. And it was actually interesting because one of them I talked to for about 2 months, and I'll laugh and I'll say that that was my quarantine bae. But, it didn't result in a relationship. And actually the reason that it didn't had a lot to do with the way that he was handling the pandemic, which I was not comfortable with, and which actually showed a lot about his priorities. And we were not aligned. The priorities were different, and it involved more friends and travel and Jersey Shore house that I didn't think was safe or appropriate, and it created differences. So the pandemic is interesting. The pandemic can be a great divider, because I think what I learned from being on these dating apps is that it forces you to get real with people, to ask questions that you normally wouldn't ask, and to learn things about them that you wouldn't learn in terms of how they handle conflict. And sometimes, like in my case, that can be a deal breaker. So it was an interesting process, and it helped. Although I didn't meet anyone from it and I quickly got off, it definitely helped me to coach other women. And I even created a product helping women. It's a masterclass how to vet like a matchmaker and find your gem online. So it was kind of research. And it was
Another webinar in itself.
Yes, absolutely.
So I think now we can open it up to questions. One question that I saw a few people ask was, so let's say you're on a date and there's a topic and you don't feel comfortable talking about the topic. What's the best way of saying, hey, do you mind if we change the conversation without coming off as really rude, but coming off more so like, hey, these are my boundaries and please respect them?
Yeah, I think the best way to address that is to just be very direct and say it in a nice way. But, instead of like making a joke about it or being sarcastic or saying something snippy back, just be really direct, and maybe kind of say a compliment first. I love that. I love to give a compliment. Like, I'm really enjoying this conversation, but that is one topic that's off limits. So let's not talk about that, and just kind of brush it off and change the subject and be like, you know what? It's not personal to you. I wouldn't talk about this with anyone on a first date. That's how I would leave it, so they don't take offense.
Cool. And if anyone has questions for Rachel or myself, feel free to ask in the chat. And with that being said, we can just continue with other questions. So like what's something that you found surprising, Rachel, like before quarantine and then now, and it's like, wow, I wasn't expecting that, or this was different than this was very different, like how it turned out. Maybe you thought you would love something and it was awful, or vice versa. Maybe you thought, I wouldn't be feeling this, and you're like, actually, it was really enjoyable.
Okay. I think that people are actually starting to like video dates more than they thought they would. It's funny, I actually got more than a few emails today from people that wanted to join this that were like, do I have to be on video? Because they didn't want to like necessarily do their hair and their makeup and that kind of thing. So I think we're all getting used to the idea of like being at home more. And I think that what is surprising is that some people are actually really liking that like slow pace, and finding that it's good for relationships, because it's more of that old school kind of feel where you really get to know a person. And when you couldn't meet right away, you kind of, now you can have those conversations like late at night talking to someone, and it's just more organic and more natural. And so people are kind of liking it, even though they're not liking the fact that they can't go out and, be at a bar and do as they please. Some people are liking this medium, and they're getting used to the fact that like, okay, well, I have to dress up even though I'm staying home or whatever, and I can meet people like this from the comfort of my home.
Yeah, and just to add to that, so for anyone who doesn't know, so I'm the co-founder of the video speed dating app Filteroff, and when we launched the app about 1.5 years ago, so way before the pandemic, people were definitely resistant going on video. Like that was the inspiration. I'd meet women in-person dates, and quickly realize like, hey, we don't have chemistry, or hey, maybe she doesn't look exactly what I thought she would look like, or so. And I would just ask women like, hey, can we FaceTime before going and meeting in person? And most would actually say no. I would say like a third would say yes. And now with Filteroff, which has really taken off, it's like people are open to video chatting. I think people are comfortable now because they're doing it all the time at work. And they also realize how efficient it is. That's the beauty. It's like you could hop on a video chat with someone, and within like less than a minute, you'll see if you vibe or not. Maybe you don't like their laugh or their voice, or you don't like their personality, or maybe vice versa, you love it. So I think that's what we've seen. But yeah, so let's take some other questions.
I have a tip for the guys real quick on that. So, okay, well, women are getting more comfortable with it rather, unless you're on like a video dating app, or, you're on some type of speed dating event or whatever. If you're just meeting a woman like on a regular dating app, say, and you want to do a FaceTime or a video chat or whatever with her, don't be like, can you do it now? Or can you do it in 5 minutes? Or can you do it at 10 o'clock at night? We need advance notice. We need to look like this, and not, we need to look how you think you want us to look. So give us a little time. That's much appreciated.
So one person asked, what remote virtual dating options do you recommend? I mean, I run a free video speed dating app that's available to everyone. Like most of these virtual dating apps cost money and paid services, but yeah, so let's see.
Can I ask a question by voice or only by typing?
Well, since you started speaking, I think the floor is yours.
Yeah,
sorry about that. I did not the rules of the game. I was late. So I don't quite understand what's the problem in the first place. Why can't you just talk on the phone so you don't have to look like that? And then if you find that you're connected on many other levels other than visual.
Okay, so I'm trying to understand. It was a little hard to hear, but I think you want to actually talk on the phone first. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yes. So you don't have to look like this, like that, or like anybody else wants you to look, or like you want to look. You can just talk.
Yeah.
Because if you don't connect.
Go ahead. If you don't connect on the phone.
If you don't connect in, any other way other than visual, it's not a whole lot of a connection, right?
Yeah, so I totally hear you. I mean, obviously visual and physical is not everything, but it is a lot for a lot of people. So I think one of the issues, and I see someone put this in the chat and I'm glad that they did. So one of the very reasons why I think Filteroff is like so amazing and just the idea of using a video app is because of this phenomenon of catfish, right? I don't know how many of you saw that show on MTV, but the whole idea is that people actually don't look like their photos when they're on these dating sites. Sometimes their photos are 10 years older. Sometimes they're looking very different or overweight or whatever it is. And I don't mean to sound superficial, but the person that was attracted to you on the dating site wants you to be the person that you're portraying yourself. And there's really no way of knowing that unless you get on video or you go ahead and take the plunge and meet in person. So you can have like the best connection intellectually, whatever, on the phone. You can have a great call, but if you show up and you don't look like yourself, you're just setting yourself up for disappointment. And of course, not saying you will do that or that most people will do that, but I have to tell you, a lot of people are so burnt out by meeting people that are not who they say they are, and they don't trust the dating process without video. So even some of the other dating apps have made a video feature now because people are realizing like video is the way. It's the quickest way to not waste time, not waste emotional energy on someone who is not who they say they are, that you're not going to be attracted to.
Yeah, I think you said it really nicely. I feel so like phone calls are great, right? Like they're better than texting to get to know someone. But what's even better than that is video. Like video is that sweet spot of authenticity and efficiency. Meeting in person is more authentic, but it's not necessarily efficient. So video kind of hits that sweet spot. And if you're nervous to go on video, well, it's like, or you feel like you have to be a certain way. If everyone could just go on mute, you feel like you have to be a certain way, well, it's like, that's what dating, like there is a possibility that they don't like you or vice versa. You don't like them. That's what dating is. I mean, you could also jump on a phone call or text and spend 2 weeks interacting with them. And then when you meet in person, you realize, hey, zero chemistry. They don't look like what you thought they look like, or a number of other reasons. So that's why video is so valuable. Because you can see. So, I mean, that's my take. Everyone has a different level of comfort and what they prefer.
Can I clarify something?
You could ask one more question, then we're going to open it up to other people.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of people writing stuff in the chat.
Yeah, so Marina, how about you just message us after? Like you could email me, I could send it to Rachel. Yeah. I'll put my email in there, and I could also CC Rachel on anything if you guys have questions or if you want to hire Rachel. So I just put my email in there.
I have actually some offers for you guys later at the end.
So what other? So let's see.
Okay, so Ben Goodman, hi Ben. Ben actually said something very interesting, and that is about feeling like women would screen more than men, I guess, like on these video calls. And I have to say, no offense to the guys, but you know, I've been doing matchmaking and everything for 15 years now, and I have to say I agree with Ben, because you know, for a lot of guys, the number one thing is like, okay, is she physically attractive? Check. Does she seem cool? Like, is her personality all right? Check. You know, it's women that literally have the checklist, because I think that, you know, I mean, men have their checklist too, don't get me wrong, but I do agree with men that women tend to screen more. You know, the stereotype seems to be true that women are definitely relationship oriented when they're on these apps, and sometimes the guys are more looking for a hookup or something casual. So it is the women that need to screen. It's just how it is.
So Tony had an interesting question. Once you've gotten to know someone via video, it's important to prepare yourself for that first in-person meeting. They could be taller or shorter than you thought, and you're suddenly using all your senses versus 2D. Any more tips? So I'll just share my experiences. So I've been video dating a lot, right? And it is common, once we vibe, the woman would ask, hey, how tall are you? Or, I mean, it comes up, and I think it's fine. Just be honest, be truthful. And here's the thing. I mean, this is my take around dating. If they say that they're not interested because of one of those factors, it's like, first of all, you can't control it. And second of all, it's like, well, if they're not interested in you, then move on. Don't waste your time. And they're not interested in you. Like, I think it's important to be transparent and to be upfront. And that's why video is valuable, but video can only show you so much. You still may not know exactly the full picture of this person. And then when you meet them in person, like when you interact with them, do an activity with them, that also gives you a new sense that you couldn't have gotten over video. But Rachel, anything else to add?
Yeah, I mean, listening to this, I think one thing that's very important with dating, for anyone how to have success in dating, what you really have to do is be able to rebound quickly, okay? Like if something doesn't work out, you can't let yourself get so upset about it that you're going to take yourself out of the dating scene for like months because it didn't work out with this one person who, you know, wanted someone who was 5'10", and you're 5'9", or whatever. You have to realize that there's some things that you can't control, like height, for instance, which is coming up, which is one of them. Women, if you really need someone that's your height or taller, you need to ask this up front. If you know that it's a deal breaker with 100% certainty, don't waste someone's time, because you're probably not going to change your mind if you know this. So I think, you know, we all have to know, again, going back to those things that are deal breakers, and if you know them, get them out of the way in the beginning so that you can be efficient. It's all about being efficient. That's how you can not burn out of the dating process and not take so long to get back out there, by being efficient. So I think video is a great way to do that. And I think just in general, the way you approach things, just realize that most first dates are not going to result in happily ever after. It's just all part of the process that everyone has to go through. Everyone isn't for you. You're unique. Everyone shouldn't be for you. You have to find the right person in order to find that one. It only takes one, but unfortunately you may have to go through a lot to get to that one.
Yeah, so that was nicely said. So Portia mentioned about any suggestions for meeting people offline during the pandemic. So restaurants have now opened up. You could go to the park. I mean, there's so many date ideas. I just went blueberry picking in Jersey, in Chester, Jersey, and it was so much fun. Like, these types of activities are great. I mean, the cool thing about video dating is you really get to know someone from like a communication. Like, how often do you communicate with someone for like just them for like an hour, 2 hours, or a few hours, potentially a few hours every week? So it's a really valuable thing, but it's also valuable to do an activity. See if you vibe, get their senses, like how do they treat other people. So there's a bunch of activities.
Yeah, I totally agree with all of that, Zach. And I think another activity that came to mind, I was going for a walk the other day and I saw this business, which is in Jersey where I live in Montclair, and also I know in New York City it's called Row House, and it's basically like rowing. So I don't think you need that much athletic ability to do it, but I noticed that they had something set up outside which looked really cool, and they were doing a class outside, and all of the rowing machines were like 6 feet apart. So and they were offering like free classes and for people that did this. So doing some type of activity, actually having a new experience together increases romantic attraction. Studies show that you're releasing endorphins if you're doing something physical, so that kind of like doubles the chances that you're gonna have like a good feeling and a good vibe. And it's fun, you know, you're doing something fun. So I could suggest maybe trying to do things like that in your area so that you can meet other singles, and just being a little out and about more. I think that people are starved for human contact. I don't know if anyone's noticed this, but I mean, even at the grocery store, people seem friendlier to me. So just put yourself out there and be in the mindset that you can meet your person anywhere.
Yeah. So we can take a couple, maybe like 1 or 2 more questions.
Okay. Fantastic. I'm just trying to see if we missed anyone.
Okay.
Hello.
I could share. It's Paulette.
Hello, Paulette. Go for it.
Hi. I'm
Hi.
67. I'm in New York City. I had a very long relationship, like 43 and a half years, and he died 4 years ago.
Sorry.
And yeah, thank you. And he was, you know, incredible. And and he was a physician, and you know, I really want to meet somebody. So I'm open to anything. I actually met somebody and we dated on and off for 2 years, and that ended in January. I ended it because he wasn't really not available, and he really wasn't. So I realized that I wasn't ready. So now I am.
Good for you. Well, I'm glad, and I think you're an example that people are looking for love at any age. I actually mostly work with people, I would say 30s, 40s, 50s, and I do have some in their 60s. And I think that one thing about dating, you know, an older kind of population or target market, if you will.
Target market.
Yeah, target. You have to, you have to define your market. So what kind of guys are you looking for? They might not be on some of these video apps that
here's the thing. My husband was a physician. He was 4 years older. I dated 2 guys actually. This one was, they were both 4 years younger than me. I'm athletic. You know, I've been working out for 42 years every, you know, 3 or 5 days a week. So I'm like an athlete. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You might meet someone through your interests, or you might meet someone through friends of friends, or going on maybe more traditional dating sites, I think could be a good thing.
I'm on them, and they're bogus. I spend so much money. I've read over 14,000 profiles.
Wow.
Yeah. Just not happening.
Yeah.
It's like really like a burnout. You know what I mean? I have dating app burnout.
If you want to talk later, I'm offering a special to everyone actually that's on this call. I have discounted strategy sessions. So basically a strategy session is on video. I will spend an hour with you and get to know your situation and what you're looking for and who you are, and be able to give you very clear suggestions about how you're approaching things, the best places to meet people, how you come across. So we can follow up with that, and you can get that at a discounted price thanks to the pandemic. So.
That's amazing. I really, really appreciate that, Rachel. And how do I find I mean, I'm not here, I'm in the park, I'm not going to export the chat. Is there a way that either on the email or whatever?
We'll have your email. I'll remember your name, Paulette, and I can follow up with you and send you more information.
So great. Thank you so much again.
You're welcome.
So
Great.
we can take, thank you so much, Paulette. We can take one more question.
Okay.
Hi there, it's Monica.
Hi, Monica.
Hi, Monica.
Yeah, I'm calling from the UK, so it's like Zooming from the UK, so it's quite late for me. But I'm glad that some of the questions, some of the comments have actually alluded to it after me explaining. So yeah, my question is literally about privacy because, you know, obviously lots of people are working from home and they're Zooming from their home. And it's just being aware of the fact that obviously in a normal dating situation, you'd go to a place where it would just be like completely impartial to both of you. And so they wouldn't be forming like any form of like profile or anything about you based on, I don't know, what they can see around in your room as you're Zooming. And yeah, I also have like issues about, you know, people taking screenshots or like taking videos. So it's just kind of working out how do you manage like privacy aspect.
Well, I think Rachel's background is perfect, right? It's very neutral. It's just there's some sort of painting design in the back and it's just a couch. So I think like from a profile, like you can't tell where Rachel is just from that. And yeah, I mean, in terms of taking photos, I mean, here's the thing, and this is we addressed, is anyone could take a photo of you, right? You could be walking through the park and someone takes a photo of you without you know. I understand that now, like one-on-one video, yeah, that's concerning. But and I think what it comes down to is if you share a photo or do some sort of if you share a lewd photo, that could potentially get shared. And you should be very careful with that, which Rachel addressed. But Rachel, do you have any other?
Yeah, I mean, thank you for the compliment on my background. This is done purposely. Obviously, I'm doing a lot of sessions with people, and here you can find a corner of your home, right? That doesn't really reveal anything about you or where you are. I mean, on Zoom, there's even different backgrounds that you can use if you have like a premium membership, I guess. So I've seen people with these like fake backgrounds, so you can do that. Yeah, you know, it's really hard. I feel like almost nothing is private anymore, so it almost doesn't matter if you're on a video dating app or where you are. I just feel like until you get to know someone better, you kind of should always be operating that, I hate to say it, but like anything can be public. Anyone can you can send someone a text and they can take a screenshot of it. You know, you have to be careful with who you trust with personal information, no matter where you are.
Cool. So with that being said, Rachel, you want to share a little bit about the program that you're offering or any closing words, and then we'll...
Yeah, absolutely. So I kind of started with the strategy session. So to just get a little more in depth about that, people come to me with all kinds of dating and relationship challenges, all different stages too. Some are trying to figure out how to find someone. Some are trying to figure out, like, I just did a session the other day. Should I stay with him? Should I leave him? Is this the right person? Is he wasting my time? So some people are in a relationship and trying to get to the next stage. Some people need kind of a deeper session because they have what I call love blocks. They keep repeating the same patterns and they're attracting people, but not the right people. Some people need help presenting better on online dating apps and sites, and just knowing who and where and what kind of conversation and how they get first dates, but they don't get second dates. So there's just all kinds of things that I consult on. I think one strategy session is kind of like a diagnostic tool. And I say everyone will get some value out of this because I'm literally analyzing, okay, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Who is it that you want to attract? Would you actually be attractive to that person? Or are your criteria and your expectations too high? That's something that I commonly deal with. So basically just coming up with a plan for your love life, whether I support you through that plan and we do more sessions and you want the hand holding, or I refer you to someone else, or you want matchmaking or apps, or, you know, whatever it is, I just pretty much use all of my background and skills and intuition to really just like help your love life. I definitely think everyone on this call is taking a step in the right direction. You wouldn't be here if you didn't actually want to find the right person for you. So this strategy session, I can help you more figure out how to do that. So it's regularly priced at $250, and there's a report that I send afterwards with all these suggestions. But I've been offering it for $125 throughout the entire pandemic, and I think I'm going to keep doing that for the foreseeable future. It's just so that price is not really like, if someone wants to do this, I don't want price to be the only reason that stops them now at this time, because I understand people's income has changed. But this is investing into your love life. So I can offer that to anyone on this call. My website is rachelrusso.com. And you can book a strategy session there right on my calendar, and you can make a secure payment through Square. You can email me if you have questions. So we'll obviously be sending out a recording, and you'll have access to my website and everything. So that's that. And then lastly, just real quick for women, some of you know about this. I have this masterclass that I mentioned before, how to vet like a matchmaker and really screen men to find your gem online. Like Paulette was talking about before, she's been on all these sites. I totally understand. It can be exhausting. But the truth is, people do have success online on all kinds of dating apps. Everybody has met someone. Everyone has a husband or kids or a wife out of it. So I really want to help people succeed. So I created a class that you can actually download. It's on demand. And I take everything that I've learned about men and how to really read them and to know if they're serious or if they're full of it, and how you can find the right one for you. So this is using my skills, kind of helping you to play detective. Right now, this is only offered for women, because there's things about men that I learned as a woman, and I'm just like sharing all my secrets. But for men who are listening to this, who are like, oh, well, I want something that can help me be a detective. Like, I want to know if women are full of it. I want to read women. I can help you with that too, because I've worked with men throughout my career, and it's been a big focus. So we'd have to do that in a strategy session. I might create a product for men down the road, but right now, how to vet men like a matchmaker and find your gem online. It's available on my website. You can purchase it, and you can get it automatically delivered to you, the whole recording.
So thanks for that. And so yeah, so for this recording, I'm gonna put it up on Filteroff's YouTube channel. We're on all the socials as well. So if you have questions, you could just hit us up. You can hit Rachel up. Like, we're very Googleable. And again, just thanks so much for taking the time. If you have any comments, suggestions, other sort of webinars you want to see, like, Filteroff's goal is to find you like an authentic, amazing relationship. So we're going to have more webinars coming up. And again, we really, really appreciate you spending the time with us tonight. So have a great one, and thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. I see all your very nice messages in the chat, so we appreciate that. I'm glad that this was of value to you, and I'm wishing everyone good luck. I know this is a tough time, but I've said it from the beginning. There will be romances that come out of this, so it might as well be you. So if we can support you, let us know.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone. Good luck.